I saw like nothing. I had one of the easiest tours you can imagine, you know. So I fought with my doctor in the VA in East Orange for 2 years, and she's like, "You have PTSD." I said,
"This is gonna hurt." It's time for the Suffering Podcast. As a child, safety is amongst the last things that run through your head. We're supposed to have parents and caregivers to think about the dangers so that we can concentrate on being young. This system has been in place for millennia. For some, looking out for another is seen as more of a burden than a duty. Having another life depend on you seems foolish when you're unable to attend to yourself, setting up a recipe for disaster that is bound to fail. A child's life and safety should never be a gamble. Give them a chance so that the opportunity is there. They deserve better, and adults are obligated to comply. I'm Kevin Donaldson here with Mike Failace, and welcome to the Suffering Podcast. If you're a fan of overcoming suffering and overcoming adversity, then we're for you, because that's what we do here, and that's the stories that we highlight. So do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, please comment, ring the bell so you can get notified of all of our new content. Now you can join. Follow us on all social media so you can find out what we're up to. On this episode of the Suffering Podcast, we bring back a recent returning guest in Mike Martyn.
Well, this is like a 1.5 times.
Correct. You know, you had a 10-minute segment last time.
You did 15 minutes of fame.
Right. And we're here to talk about the suffering of a foster child. There's a lot that we left on the table at Mickey's. We wanted to bring you back in here. We had an opportunity. We had an opening. I said, Mike, come on, let's do this.
Let's get it done.
Yeah.
Mike, I know you're a very vibrant person and everything. Just try to sit like Kevin on an airplane for this.
Oh, you want me to suffer here? Huh?
Well, coming in to Philadelphia International Airport in 25 miles sheer winds on a runway that was ice.
Are you a clapper when they land?
No.
Oh, thank God.
No, I'm not a clapper.
Oh, thank God.
Before we get into anything, let's throw a big shout out to our marquee sponsor. That's Toyota of Hackensack. We don't trust anybody as police, but we do trust them. So do me a favor. Go to toyotahackensack.com. Let them find you a car. We all know where to go.
Kevin's not a clapper. He runs up to the cockpit and thanks him in his own personal way.
Well, that's because the pilot always comes over the air. He says, I could go for a blowjob and a cup of coffee.
So Kevin's knocking on the door.
Mike's in the back yelling, don't forget the coffee. So each week, as you know, Mike, because I know you're a frequent listener,
I am.
We take a question from our audience. This question comes from Silly String 57.
Was that you, Mike?
No, that sounds like something from the cockpit.
No, that's what Mike's girlfriend calls him.
Yeah.
Oh, silly. Wait, 57 is his age, and it's a
wet noodle.
Okay.
Exactly. And it says, what is your definition of happiness? Everybody wants to be happy. Everybody says, I'd love to be happy. Very few people know how to define happiness. So, Mike, I'm going to lead this one off with you. What is your definition of happiness?
I certainly can't define it like I was Merriam-Webster or anything, but
it's personal to every person.
yeah, that's a tough one. Oh man, you know, I'm a dad, and I have 3 kids. I have a wife. I'm happy. I don't know what it means. It's so odd. I wake up. I have 4 people there supporting me, loving me. You'll see, hopefully, throughout the rest of this show why that matters to me, because some people don't like that, I would assume.
Not to get into the minutia of what we're going to talk about,
Okay.
but I do know I know a lot about your life, and you grew up, and the lack of happiness maybe amplifies the happiness you feel now.
Oh, Mike, tremendously. I mean, I tell my wife this when she gets sad about something silly. I'm like, you ever been on a roller coaster that's flat? They don't make them.
Yeah.
You can't enjoy going down the hill if you didn't go up the hill.
That's a great line right there.
I say it all the time, not to you, you know.
You never said it.
We'll use that one.
Yeah, we'll use
Oh,
it.
thanks.
Stolen.
Can I trademark that?
Stolen.
Even what is it, the EKG machine? If you don't have the ups and the downs, you're dead, you know? It's hard. It's hard growing up like that. And now I have the ups, and they're great. They're tremendous.
And hope they stay up.
I do hope they stay up.
Exactly.
And it's there's things that happen every day in people's lives that are terrible and tragic, and I like to think that I'm beyond the worst of it in my life at where I'm at now at 38.
I think too many people they're on an upward trajectory, and the minute they crest what they see as a big hill and start to go down, then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
But that sometimes, a lot of times, when people are going down, that's when they enjoy themselves. So that's not
Some
like
people.
true happiness.
Some people.
You know what I'm saying? You know,
Yeah.
you like that ride up because you're getting to the top. Then when you get to the top, some people are self-destructive and they want that ride down.
Right.
Before they have to build themselves back up again.
So where do you get your serotonin and your happy thoughts?
Or your happiness, at the top of that roller coaster,
right,
waiting to come back down?
Right. Is it the
to
ride?
climb up?
Well, anybody in life who has ever had some sort of great achievement will tell you the same thing. Like, I'll give you an example: running a marathon. The marathon itself was the marathon itself was not the great joy. Mm-hmm. And not until you cross the finish line do you understand this. The joy of a marathon is the training of the marathon. It's the journey. It's the climbing of the mountain. What do you do when you get to the peak of the mountain? You look for the next mountain to climb. That type of thing. That's the joy and that's the happiness.
The culmination of your training.
Well, right. I guess if you think of it as in sense of a gym, you're not going to get buff, if you will, by not going. Same concept. It's not luck either. I could look at you and be like, "Wow, you're lucky. You look like that." A little different, but you don't look as bad as this, Mike.
Mike, I got you.
Yeah, thanks.
And let me tell you, these two guys work together. So
used to.
I'm an outsider.
I moved on.
Yes,
bigger and better.
I thought Kevin got fired.
But it's a daunting question to ask. We talked a little bit about it on another difficult topic to define on our Instagram Live tonight. It's what's the definition of success,
That's easier for me personally.
But a lot of people want success. They just don't know what success is.
I feel like success is more of a spectrum than a line, where happiness could very well be a line instead of a spectrum. You know what I mean? Or you could. I've said enough.
Mike, what do you think?
We got enough time left? I mean,
sure. And that's going to do it for this episode.
Thanks, guys.
Follow us on our OnlyFans page.
I honestly think you could switch the word happiness with the word content. Right. As long as you're content, then you should be happy.
Yes and no.
Yeah, I know.
It depends. There's certain scenarios.
There's definitely certain scenarios, but as long as you're happy in your own skin and you feel good at the point you're at, you're never going to feel 100%, because I don't believe there's a such thing as 100% happiness.
Oh, you can always get more.
You take these millionaires and they're miserable. You take someone like Robin Williams, who was a comedian on top of the world. Everybody thought he had everything. And he's laughing and he's making people laugh. And look what happened to him.
Tears of a clown.
So there's never, I don't believe there's ever 100% happiness.
I don't think 100% happiness is good, and we've proven that with this show.
Yeah. I just settle for content.
We could call my wife. The day she married me, I mean, she had to have been real close.
She struck gold on that one.
Yeah, and then I have some friends that call her by different names.
Yes, I'm sorry, Katie. I did that on our Mickey's Live. I did call Mike's wife by the wrong name, which we had dinner together. So it was.
Thank God I've never done that.
My bad.
Yet.
No, don't say that. I'm still married to her, Mike.
Well, that's where your happiness is going to go down.
Yeah, remember those roller coasters?
Once again, I have the benefit of having this question before everybody else, so I get time to ruminate on it and think about it. And I thought, what would be the ideal situation to make me happy? And I believe the ideal situation for me is to live without fear. Live without fear.
That's a good one.
Live without fear for the next day, what's coming next, what bill I got to pay, where I got to pick the kids up, how I got to make dinner, how I got to have my family survive. And throughout my life, when I was going through really bad times, I was simply a thermometer. That's all I was. I was a thermometer. I was taking the temperature of everything around me. When through group therapy, through this show, I've switched that to become a thermometer, where now I set the temperature. I don't just simply take the temperature. And I think if you're a thermometer the entire time, you're always going to have that fear. Is it hot enough? Is it cold enough? You're going to have those up and downs like you had said. So living without fear, I think, is the ideal situation to set yourself up to be happy.
It's good. In response to that, from my perspective, there's so many different types of people. So happiness is relative, I guess.
Absolutely.
Happiness is different to everybody.
Right. Because, Morticia Adams cutting the heads off of the roses, I'm sure somebody out there gets happy with stuff like that.
When you're fearful, I don't know any person that's fearful that's happy. I think that might be a solid, concrete proof. Even those,
I was going to say an adrenaline junkie, maybe.
but that's not fear to them. That's anticipation. That's that feeling. Because we get that before this show. We have that anticipation before the lights and cameras go on, and once camera, then we sort of calm down. But we set the temperature on that.
Yeah.
You know,
Which is hot, by the way.
Yes, it's freaking.
Well, because Andrew put these lights in. I mean, geez.
He's trying to make it like Puerto Rico in here. That's what he's trying to do.
I wouldn't have worn an undershirt had I known.
I thought you guys wanted to do a show in Aruba.
So
that's why I took my pants off.
Oh, I get it now.
So Mike's girlfriend, Silly String 57. Thank you very much for that question.
That Mike.
That Mike.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to say Mike Martyn or Mike Failace when I'm referencing you. Because again,
we could go with young or old.
parents,
Oh, wow.
stop naming your kids Mike. It gets confusing when they come in here after you fuck them up.
Every guy should be named Mike.
I like
walk
that.
down the street, go, hi, Mike. Hi,
Mike, what's
Hi,
going on?
You throw out a Mike. You go into a crowd and you say, hey, Mike.
Somebody.
50 people are going to tell
And
you.
those are probably the best guys in that crowd.
But then again, you go in the same crowd and yell, hey, jerk off. Every guy turns around, too.
And their name's all Mike.
Thank you very much for sending that question in. Keep sending in your questions, and we will try to get them on the air. You have lived a very interesting life, and it's a topic that we have not touched on in here.
Sort of.
Well, we like
some
Stacey Ellis a little bit,
Right, yeah.
She went through the foster system, and to some extent, your stories collide.
Sure.
But on the end result is so vastly different. Well, the end result is very similar because I think Stacey is very happy now. At least she presented that way when she was in here.
Right.
So why don't you give our audience a little bit about yourself?
Thank you. Thank you for having me, guys. I really mean that.
Well, you're always there to support us. You're always there to give us an encouraging word. You don't know how the distance that goes with Mike and I is beyond words that of gratitude.
Well, I think what you guys are doing is incredible. I've met through my weird life, hundreds, thousands of people that have suffered substantially, haven't necessarily found a way to have any outlets perfect or support. And you guys know, once you hear, oh, you know what, I've been through that too, or I've been through something similar, there's a bond.
Trauma bond.
Like when we met,
Yeah.
I had no clue who you were. I was like, oh, this douchebag.
You didn't like him.
I didn't. No,
I know.
I'm kidding. No, I did. I liked him, but
A couple years later, still don't like him.
I'll go a little spiritual on you. I think that was destiny. I wasn't supposed to work where you worked. I was only supposed to meet you. Right. But I'll tell Mike if you don't mind. Kevin came up. He's like, do you know who I am? And I'm like, what a douche. What a douche.
No,
Let me suffering podcast jacket on.
Let me preface it. You were starting to get a little bit into your past with me.
Yes.
All right. And you were telling me as if I wouldn't understand. It wasn't you were being adversarial. You weren't being rude. You were telling me something as if I didn't understand.
Suffering.
Suffering.
Basically.
And that's so. Yes, that question that did seem a little
Well,
egotistical.
I didn't lie, Kevin. No. You said, "Do you know who I am?"
Did you get his?
puffed your chest
Did you get his autograph?
I tried. He would have given it.
He wanted to charge you.
I didn't have any cash.
Get in the back of the line. Get in the back of the line.
So then he goes, "You ever see Soft White Underbelly, kid?" Whoa,
Man, you are telling this story very differently from the way I remember it. Jesus Christ.
So he said,
Did you ever read Rich Man magazine?
I said, do me. I always like people to. When I meet somebody, I do Google them.
I'm not that guy. I want it to be organic. I want it to be natural. I don't want to I Googled Mike and I was like, why did I do this?
Exactly.
I really do. I don't want to take Kevin's word for Mike. I don't want to take anybody else's word for anybody else.
Make your own mind up.
Right. It's the relationship between me and you, because you could be one of the biggest influences on my life, and Mike, Steve, so-and-so, anybody could ruin that. And I think everybody has some kind of positive, even the worst piece of crap you know. Maybe they tie their shoes away that you're like, holy shit, my back feels 10,000 times better.
Why didn't I ever think of doing it like that?
Because of this jerk, So something along those lines, I want it to be organic. And once I did look you up, all kidding aside, I actually got a little teary-eyed, and I was like, oh, man, this guy's been through some stuff, and and then he came back
Because
and I hugged him. I was tearing up. I'm like, you jerk.
Can I tell you? Let me tell you from my perspective. So when you started getting into your story with me, I had a lot of empathy. I have a lot of empathy for people coming here who really been through some shit.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of empathy with you, and I had to trauma bond. People who have not even shared the same dirt or the same blood,
right,
but people who have been through trauma in different walks of life. It's what bonds Mike and I. It's what bonds me with all of the guests. If they've been through some stuff, you're going to know the good times, the bad times, and we're going to be that much more connected. And that was my hope with that.
Yeah. And it worked.
Yeah.
It worked.
You take a bunch of kids that were born millionaires, they probably wouldn't get along. They'd be some. It would be whose dick is bigger.
The polo competition, friends.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Oh, my dad's got more money than your dad. They probably wouldn't get along. You take guys like you said that have a trauma bond, you're going to get along.
Right. Another lead in on that one. I always struggled with my trauma because it sounds cliche, but I'll say it and we'll rectify what I said later. We'll pick up the damages and pieces. You guys went through an event, right? And that's not. I'm not taking away from your whole life, but you go through an event. I was diagnosed with PTSD. I'm a veteran, so you hear that and you're like, "Wow, this guy's seen some shit." Overseas, I saw like nothing. I had one of the easiest tours you can imagine, So I fought with my doctor in the VA in East Orange for 2 years, and she's like, "You have PTSD." I said, "No, I don't. Fuck you." Like, I went ape shit. She goes, "I also think you have an anger problem." All right, well, you're close.
You're getting there, Doc.
So I'm like, it just doesn't make sense in my head. I saw nothing there that would really dictate.
Was there something in you that didn't want to take away from those soldiers overseas who really
100%
lost those?
Most veterans are like that. From my perspective, I know guys that were hurt bad, and they're like, "I'm not going for the benefits. I want to leave that money for the people that need it." And it's like, dude, it's a bottomless pit. Just go take the benefits. You're entitled. You earned it. You put your life on the line. But I didn't have this big hoo-ha movie story of, man, the fucking bombs were going off and the bullets were flying. I didn't have that. So how do I have PTSD? Like, I really fought with her. And she goes, "Mike, you have a childhood. You have a past. This just kind of made it worse again." And I took a couple weeks, and I was like, "Nah, I still think she's full of shit," But I Googled it, and just everybody loves throwing statistics.
Oh, sure, you didn't make your mind up on that one. You Googled that one.
Yeah. So I saw something, and I'm butchering the numbers. Sorry to all those statisticians out there, but something stupid like 50% of vets that come home from war have PTSD. I'm like, all right. So I've 50-50 right there. Something stupid like 50% of foster kids have PTSD. But some crazy number like foster kids who deploy, it's like 98% of them have PTSD. I'm like, fuck. I know the odds a little bit there. I'm probably in the 98%.
Good gamble.
Yeah, I bet on that one.
I don't gamble, but I throw some money on that one.
Right.
So here's what I've learned over the 11 years that I've been, in group therapy and talking to different people. Those who grew up in a very solid household usually have an easier time getting through their trauma and their pain from an event. Mm-hmm. Those with a jacked up past, they hold on to it much longer.
Can I tell you what I think is and it's a hypothesis, love and support.
Oh, of course.
If you don't have that support structure, how do you get over something?
We had a guy in here last week, just in case. Okay, he's a photographer.
Just in case what?
Yeah, exactly.
Just in case he bails out again, you're coming in.
So Justin had he became addicted to Adderall and cocaine, and he had a very easy time getting over it and staying and maintaining that sobriety. When he talks about his parents, they're wonderful people.
Yeah.
They're supportive. Hey, you need to go to rehab. Let's find you a rehab.
Right.
Stuff like that.
Right.
And he's a prime example. Not to say he wasn't addicted to what he did.
Of course.
He had an easier time than some.
I mean,
I'm
you
not
ever fall
downing
in a
him for
hole?
that.
It's easier to get out of it when someone's there to help you.
Yeah.
It's hard to get out when you're in a 10-foot deep hole and you're by yourself with no escape.
But when you come through a lot of things from your past, it could be one thing that just exacerbates that whole thing.
Exactly.
And that's that's how your PTSD set in.
It's that straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
So you've grown up a certain way. Where did you grow up? Let's start there.
That is probably the hardest question that I could ever answer. I moved by the time I was 9 or 10 about 40 times. Do you mind if I go back to the beginning?
Sure.
Go right ahead.
I'm gonna speed through it if you're okay with that, and then we'll come back and break it down a little bit. So my mother and father, and some of this stuff, I'll apologize to my loved ones. You know, I have 5 siblings. I love them. I don't speak to them. Some of this stuff may hit a nerve, and I don't want to do that. That's not the intention. But this is how I remember it. That's how I'll tell you the story, and how I've been told. So my parents were addicts. They got together. You know, it's a good combination. You get a man and a woman. They're addicts, and they get together. Perfect. You get me. Perfect. Public service announcement on that one. Yeah. Pause for the camera.
This is your parents. This is your parents on drugs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
and this is your offspring.
Yeah. Hi guys. So they get together. Long story short, I'm born. As far as I know, I was stillborn. You know, my mother was
full
bad. Full. Yeah, I don't know.
Were you born addicted?
No, I don't remember. But
he is now, but he wasn't then.
I figure, it depends on what you had, whether you were told that or not.
I don't believe so. But obviously, the doctor did something. I'm here. I had a second sister with the same parents. My mother at that point, as far as I know, was clean. She wanted my father to be clean, and it was hard. You know, I don't know if you guys have ever faced addiction, but apparently it's not really easy to break sometimes.
It's pretty tough.
Right. So, and I was born in 85, so there was good stuff back then, you know. It's not like the stuff today, but they separated. He said, "Hey, I'm clean. And she's like, "No, you're not. No, you're not." On a way to a supervised visit with me. I was 4 years old. I might have been my sister as well. He was in a car accident and died. Toxicology comes back. He was perfectly clean and sober.
Oh, wow.
Which is great now. Yeah. As an adult, I can look back and be like, you know, he really was trying. You know, it wasn't a load of bullshit that my mother fed me. Oh, he was a drug, he was an addict or whatever. I can look back and be like, he was trying to do the right thing. So I live with that. Like, okay, there's a check in the right direction. The saddest part of all that is my only 2 memories is in that visitation room, maybe weeks prior, I don't know the timeline, at 4, I'm playing with a Tonka truck, and I hear Michael, and I turn around, there's my dad, and I'm running to give him a hug, and the memory goes blank right before I make contact, and it's devastating. Sure. The second one is my grandfather holding me, and I'm looking at my father laying down, sleeping in a box, and I go, "Grandpa, what's he doing?" He's asleep, and he's never going to wake up. And that's the second memory and only other memory I have of him. So that's hard in and of itself, you know. So from there, my mother gets remarried to an abusive guy. She has 3 more kids with him. The third one she thought was another guy, so she named the third one after the other guy that she was with. But the first guy was abusive and beating her. And I remember one night, we had lived, you know, this was the age of safetyness, right? So I was probably 5, 1990-ish. We lived above a bar restaurant. So, you know, Friday nights, you know, you're in bed at 8 o'clock when you're 5. You get to sleep right away when the band downstairs is cranking till 2 in the morning, you know. So there's part of, you know, how do you sleep? So you're up till 2, 3 in the morning as a 5-year-old. Now you're sleeping in till 11 on a Saturday. It's bizarre.
How did your mother, did your mother try to do anything to mitigate this stuff so you could be a normal child?
I don't think so.
Was she using at the time?